Hey everyone, welcome to the Book Barn. I'm Laisha.
And I'm Lainey, and today's episode is double the fun because the authors of our featured book are a dynamic duo.
When 13-year-old Daniel loses his grandfather, he stops believing in magic until he discovers Grandpa's forgotten workshop.
While exploring it with his sister Alex and cousin Brent, they're pulled into a world of groundhog lawyers, river pirates, a towering giant, and whispering winds where forgotten stories come to life.
We're diving into Storyweaver Adventure Mode Unlocked by Andy Keats, which is actually a pen name for two incredibly talented writers.
Laisha, before we get too into this, do you have a joke?
Oh gosh, a joke. I might. Let's see. What did the mama cow say to the calf?
Got milk?
It's past your bedtime. Get it? Pasture.
Got it. So going back to our featured book, at the end of the book, it says, when they're not crafting fantastical adventures, one half of this author team is out battling blazes as a firefighter, and the other is designing thrilling rides at theme parks.
Wow, that's so exciting.
I love me some theme parks.
Well, so obviously we need to learn more.
I completely agree.
Let's get them on the phone.
Hello?
Hello, is this Chad?
Yeah, this is Chad. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing good. Been looking forward to this call.
Yeah, Jason, can you hear us now?
I can.
Well, I'm Laisha.
And I'm Lainey, and we want to welcome you to the Book Barn. We are so thrilled that you're able to join us.
I love the book barn. This is a lot different than Jeremiah's barn.
Very different. What time is it where you guys are at?
Here in Tennessee, East Tennessee, it is just shy of 11 a.m.
Okay.
And it's midnight in Osaka.
Wow. Well, we could have probably done this a little bit earlier. We didn't think about that big a time difference.
Oh, it's
Listen,
okay. It's the weekend.
we are absolutely used to the time difference.
We are.
If anything,
We're
we're the
absolutely
two who understand the time difference.
Yeah, it can be confusing.
So we do need to solve a mystery, if you'll help us here. Which one of you fights fires, and which one creates rides that terrify and delight us?
We are still trying to figure that one out ourselves. No.
I am definitely not the firefighter.
Yeah, that would be me. Jason is the firefighter.
I kind of guessed that,
Yeah.
actually. I do like amusement park rides, though, so that's pretty fun.
He's not going to brag on himself, but he does a lot more than just rides.
Ooh.
We both have a background
rides.
in we both have a lot of, but him more a background in developing scenery and lighting, and he does a lot more than just rides. He creates a lot of really cool experiences for a living.
Oh, I love that.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so I work in live family entertainment, and currently, I've been in Japan for the past 5 years, working at Universal Studios.
Oh, wow. I did Universal in Orlando, a couple years ago, and it was amazing.
What's your favorite part?
What I liked about it is my younger son doesn't really like roller coasters, and at Universal, those rides are not like that, most of them, and so he was able to enjoy it along with us. So that was what was amazing. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so I loved all those rides that were in that universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got to take my family for the first time to see all the Harry Potter stuff just earlier this year. I'll tell you what, my wife and my oldest, my son, got to buy magic wands, and they got to practice their magic skills on waving their wands and making props come to life and stuff.
I have a wand.
Yeah, see? Exciting and fun. And he's not going to brag on himself too much, but Chad actually participates in a lot of creating those types of experiences.
Well, we are impressed.
Very much so.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm a fan too, so I enjoy going as a guest and working behind the scenes.
I tell you what, growing up, and he and I, we were video game buddies. We grew up more like cousins than anything. And he introduced me to a lot of the video games that I love, and that includes the Nintendo. And he was sending me behind the scenes images and stuff of opening Nintendo World, and I've never been more jealous in my life of anything. He's living my childhood dreams over there.
Yeah. How fun. Well, thank you for sharing that. That is awesome. So before we go on, we do always ask this on our Young Reader episodes. Do either of you have a joke for us?
Jason's the jokester. You're up to bat.
Okay, here we go. And I apologize if this isn't funny, but I find it hilarious.
That's a great way to start a joke, right. Jason.
So me and Chad, we're just here to entertain ourselves, and if anyone else is entertained, that's great too. So there's a little girl, right? She's reading our book, The Story Weaver, yeah? And she just finishes up the chapter with the barnyard brunch, where they have the huge buffet of food, and she finishes the chapter, and it made her hungry. She asked her mom, can we have a snack time? Mom says, sure. And she's like, would you like some muffins? Yeah. So mom prepares some muffins, and normally you make like 12 mini muffins, but she put all the mix into just 2 big muffins, right? She puts them in the oven, and they're almost done. And the first muffin kind of looks over at the second muffin and says, wow, it's really hot in this oven. I know we're going to be delicious, but it's getting really hot in here. And the second muffin looks back at the first muffin and says, it's a talking muffin. Ah!
It is funny. So you kind of said that you were like cousins. How did this writing partnership begin, and how did the name Andy Keats come to be?
That's a good story. Yeah, so Jason's actually my nephew. We're like 10 years apart, so it feels more like a cousin type relationship. So, well, it's 2 stories. Let's talk about Andy Keats first. The name comes from, my middle name is Keating, so that I'm the Keats in this equation. And Jason, his nickname growing up was Andy. His grandmother always called him Little Andy, and we never really understood why. Oh. But she said that she thought he should be named Andy, but she didn't tell anyone that until after he was already named. And I think she kind of misunderstood because his middle name is Anthony, and I think she just thought it was Andy or something, and she stuck to it. And so we called him Little Andy for years. So that's Andy Keats. It's an amalgam of us.
That's a great story.
That is.
Yeah, so because I've been traveling abroad for the past almost 15 years now, and we're looking for a way to stay connected other than playing video games online and that kind of stuff. We were looking for a way to be creative and partner on something that we could do together. We started on this like 10 years ago, and then put it down and picked it up and put it down. And then we finally committed about a year ago that let's do this for real. And it's just been a great way for us to collaborate.
I love that so much.
Yeah, I mean, this book specifically, and we're working on other things too, but this one specifically was just a great way for us to both feel like we were home. It's based in
exactly.
It's based in a fictional town called Appalachia, but it's in a culmination of Sevier County, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, all the places you're going to find, and a lot of people who do traveling and the tourism side of things are going to be familiar with maybe certain landmarks or certain folklore. And it's been a great way for us to both feel like we're still home.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been the big thing for me. All of our stories end up reconnecting to East Tennessee, and I haven't lived in East Tennessee in about 15 years. So that's what when I feel homesick, I start writing about it.
So the logistics of this co-writing does fascinate me. How do you do that? Do you guys take on chapters yourselves, for each of you? Or do you split characters? Or do you try and get together and kind of write everything together?
Yes.
All of the above. We've tried a lot of different things, and there's a little bit of discovery along the way. We're starting to find more efficient ways to do it now than when we started out, because we've kind of discovered what we're good at, like who's better at what. I'm definitely more of a planner, and Jason's more of a pantser. He likes to wing it, and I like to plan it. So a lot of times I'll kind of graft out the bones of the story or the story world, and he'll start filling in the blanks and adds a lot of the color to it. And in the stories, you can, the different character voices, some of those characters are definitely more me, and some of them are definitely more Jason.
And some of them are definitely people that we've just known in our lives. And
yes.
Yeah, it's made it, without even talking about it, it's like, here's this character. I don't know what to do with him. Well, he kind of reminds me of this person. Well, I was thinking the same thing. And so that makes it really easy to write that character, because in a way that character sort of already has existed in the past or may currently exist now. We're not going to name any names, but
Yeah.
You'll just have to share this episode with those people, and they'll have to guess if they're in your books.
We're hoping they find it organically. That's what we're hoping.
There you go. I actually adored the whimsical tone, the quirky storytelling. The structure felt very mixed between a classic adventure and just so much humor.
Good.
I would have never guessed that it was two people that was writing it. So well done.
Awesome. That's ultimately what we were going for.
So, Lainey, I have to ask you, Did you have a favorite scene?
I did, hands down. Guys, it was the emotional train scene with Grandpa.
Oh, don't make me cry. Don't make me cry on the phone.
I know. It did. It had such a genuine heart. I'll tell you, my grandpa was a railroader. My dad was a railroader. My husband's a railroader. That scene got me. It got me. So that was my favorite. Was there a particular scene that one of you really championed and the other one needed a little convincing on?
I guess it just depends.
For sure. There were some. For sure. No, tell them about the scene at the train depot. That was a late ad that came out of left field from you. And you had to talk me into it. And then I turned it upside down.
Oh, that's great.
Well, the whole train, the first scene where Daniel first finds the train depot, and I'll be honest with everybody listening, I'm getting cold chills talking about it. This book ties in very much so, very close to the heart. But what Chad's referencing is when Daniel first finds the train station, and when we originally were writing this thing, we were thinking, maybe he actually finds Grandpa there, or maybe some clues, or Grandpa's floppy hat or something. And we struggled with that chapter, that scene for years. And then I
almost cut it completely.
We did almost cut it. Actually, the original version is cut completely. What's actually in the book now, what's available to read now, I took that whole chapter and just turned it over on its head and said, instead of all that, what if we, are we chasing Grandpa? Are we chasing Grandpa's ghost? What are we actually doing here? And then I can't explain it. Sometimes these things just happen, a little more organically than trying to tell yourself what it should be. And I said, what if instead of finding the right ghost, what if we found the wrong ghost? And then we started spiraling into this whole new perspective on this chapter. And like Chad said, he read it, my first draft, and it was the entire chapter. He had never looked at any of these words or sentences before, and basically said, no, we're not going to do that.
And then 2 days later, I revised it, and then it's in. It took a little convincing.
That is some serious story weaving magic right there.
I agree.
That's it. That's it.
And you said that Jason is the funny one, Chad. Is that right?
Well, he's the punny one. Let's put it that way.
That's fair. You know what? My feelings aren't even hurt. That's very fair.
Okay, guys, so I have to ask about the giant that's stomping around. He's stashing kids in the barn. So where did that delightfully weird idea come from?
Not knowing what we were doing.
Originally, when we started, we did a little backstory, and we're going to release these at some point too. I think maybe when we put out the hardcover edition, we're going to add some short stories to the back of the book of Grandpa's original tales.
Oh, fun.
So when we started, we thought, well, what were Grandpa's original stories? And so we actually wrote stories about Jeremiah and the Wampus Cat and the Little People, and kind of fleshed those out before we even started writing the...
Yeah, there was a lot of writing before we ever got to what's in the book now.
Okay, so the language choices that you guys used completely cracked me up, and these characters that you created completely cracked me up. You had so many fun zingers in there. Phrases like good gravy. I say that one myself. At one point, you guys, one of the characters said, gravity is such a killjoy. I just thought all those choices you made were pure gold. They were really great. Were there any inside jokes between you two that made it into the print?
I would say yes. We've always had this sort of shared humor that can sometimes come across cynical or sarcastic. The gravity, what a killjoy. I had written this whole thing about, jumping down a flight of stairs. I remember doing it as a kid, and it feels like, you get that feeling of weightlessness and flying. And, we've probably deleted as much out of the book as what's actually in the book. And after I'd gotten all that written, when this is how we sort of work, I hand it over to Chad, and he's like, all right, we don't need this to be 3 pages long. It just needs to be this little bit, this little moment. He actually came up with the gravity what a killjoy thing, and that's just that humor that we have, because it doesn't matter what we're doing, what job we're working on, or game we're playing or book we're writing, that's our humor. And a lot of times
sarcasm is real.
Yeah, it is. A lot of times, and I joked about it earlier, we are mostly just entertaining ourselves. And there's a lot of times that one of us would add something in an edit just to get something out of the other. Like I might
to get a reaction out of the other.
Yeah, just to get a reaction.
Exactly.
Like no intent for it to actually stay in the book. I just want to make Chad laugh whenever he's going over the edits. And then every once in a while, one of those little...
Sticks.
Yeah, it sticks. And it's like, you know what? That's pretty good. That's staying in. And I think Gravity, What a Killjoy is definitely one of those moments. I was going over the edits. I don't think Chad intended for that to be the line, but we do that. Here's the idea. Here's the feeling. Here's the emotion. Help me figure out how this character would say it. And in my mind, that's exactly what the character would have said.
I think it's perfect.
A lot of the stuff, the most fun was probably Brent's voice, because he has a lot of those lines.
Yes.
He has a lot of those just made up phrases out of nowhere.
I would say, if anything, Brent's voice is mine and Chad's voice in the book.
Yes. Brent needed a lot of convincing along the way, but he eventually gets into the story. And he has a very sarcastic sort of outlook on things, and he wasn't always happy with how Daniel was telling the story. So that's where our voice kept coming through.
Well, this sounds like a great partnership.
I loved it, and I think you guys probably know this through our emails, but I do teach school, and I plan on reading this to my 4th graders next year.
Oh, amazing.
And they are going to love it.
The idea alone is probably the biggest compliment I can get out of this adventure.
Aww.
Yeah, that means a lot.
So Lainey had mentioned that she thinks the book kind of reminded her of Percy Jackson meets the Wild Robot, maybe some Alice in Wonderland kind of thrown in there. But what would you guys say? Do you have any authors or books that were kind of swirling around in your minds for some inspiration?
Definitely. And they're probably different for each of us. We kind of have some different influences there. But for me, especially because this was our first book and we're trying to learn how to write as we're writing it. So we were pulling a lot of inspiration from Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz and those kind of adventures where it's sort of fish out of water and entering into a strange world and exploring it. So those were definitely big influences there.
Yeah.
And Jason, I don't know about you.
No, well, you said you got these ideas, these sort of you sort of imagine these other writers and stories, and that's it. I mean, my brain works 90% off of references and calling back song lyrics and movie quotes, and I'll tell you where a lot of my inspiration comes from, and it's not very exciting for trying to sell a book, but comic books. I discovered one called Deadpool, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a character be aware that he's a character in his own story. Like, he knew that you were reading his story. He knew that somebody was writing his story. And that just opened up this whole world and idea of what writing can be like for me. And a lot of that comes out in Brent. Like we're talking about, mine and Chad's voice really shines in Brent. But, as you start getting into the story world of it, he takes a lot of convincing. Like Chad said, he's like, this is silly. Like talking rhyming giants, this is dumb. I don't want to do this. This is bad storytelling. So he's almost too aware that it's a story, if that makes sense. Like
that's
Chad
where the
mentioned,
dabbers come in.
Yeah. So he found Daniel found something that piqued Brent's interest, and really, and Chad touched on this. A lot of that was Chad and I convincing ourselves that this is a good story. So we're writing and we're creating characters and we're creating scenes, but we needed just as much convincing that what we were writing was a good story as the characters and the stories needed to believe it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just loved a line from page 145. It said, "The world's greatest mischief makers sometimes become the world's greatest problem solvers." Were either of you troublemakers in your friend groups growing up?
No, we're best kids, honor roll student. Yes, I was a huge troublemaker.
See, the thing about Daniel is, he seems so innocent and cautious, but he's always along for the ride. He's right at Brent's hip through all of these mischief things that they do.
Yes.
And I can tell you from personal experience, that line on page, you said 145, that's amazing that you can call that. I have no idea where that is in the book, and I've read and written this book at least 3,000 times, but the personal experience of that is my oldest is 6 years old, and he is a troublemaker, but easily also one of the best problem solvers, and that shines in kids. I've learned as a daddy and an author of a children's book, that sometimes it's not making trouble. Sometimes it's just kid science. We're just learning what those boundaries are and what those limits are and what would make it more fun and exciting. And hey, we might get hurt, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's so sweet.
Especially if Grandpa has anything to say.
Right?
Grandpa was the real mischief maker here, let's be honest.
He was the biggest troublemaker out of all of them.
I loved Grandpa, and I love that you talked about Granny as very kooky as well.
Oh, who doesn't love a good kooky Granny, though?
Sadly, there were many pages of Granny that got cut from the final draft.
Oh.
I would say at least two chapters.
We had so many characters. We had to streamline it a little bit.
You'll have to put her in the next one. You'll have to add her in.
That's a great idea.
The next one
definitely would. That's a great idea.
So we have noticed that you already have a second book on Amazon, Spooky Tales from the Storyweaver.
Yes.
My granddaughter loves spooky stories, so that one I've already put in my Amazon cart.
Oh, I want a reaction.
Yay.
I want feedback more than anything.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, Spooky Tales was actually, believe it or not, that was a break from Storyweaver for us. We kind of put Storyweaver on a back burner to say, let's take a break from that and brush up on our writing skills and have some fun. Just absolutely just have some fun. I wasted all of my money at Scholastic Book Fairs on Goosebumps, and
and that's what she likes to read. She loves Goosebumps.
Amazing. Oh, that's awesome. My kids don't know about it yet, but my wife has already claimed. I used to be subscribed to the club, the Goosebumps club, and she
nice.
She found in the storage, it's all the books and the bookends and bookmarkers and keychains. That's all hers now. She claimed it. She said, I'm not allowed to.
That's great.
But yeah, Spooky Tales is actually, we were hoping some people could figure this out. But, if anybody happens to catch your podcast, being pointed in the right direction ain't going to hurt anything. Is actually an Easter egg type situation out of Storyweaver.
Ah,
good to know.
Yeah, the specter that we meet at the train station is actually the sort of narrator of Spooky Tales. He's kind of the crypt keeper type character.
Right. I love that.
Well, we have the inside scoop now.
There it is. The Ticketmaster, he loves a good story, and he collects them himself. And so Spooky Tales is a bit of a collection of his favorite ones.
That kind of reminds me, what was that HBO show that had Spooky Tales from the Crypt? It reminds me of that.
Tales from the Crypt, exactly.
Tales from the Crypt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, he's the crypt keeper.
Storyweaver universe, is it growing? Are you writing more?
For now, our intention is to make another volume of Spooky Tales. And the reasons are a fewfold, actually, but the collaboration for short stories, for us to work together, it's a little more digestible and easier to collaborate on, because we can throw anything out there and run with it and then knock those back and forth. We can turn those out a lot quicker, whereas a full-length novel takes quite a lot more collaboration.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're finding, especially now that we have kids and we're busy with our other responsibilities, all the adult stuff, it's not so much fun.
Darn life getting in the way.
Yeah. So it's just a little more achievable for us.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue doing long form novels. I say long form, they're short, aren't they? But I think it's more likely that we will be putting the Spooky Tales out on a more frequent basis, put it that way. I think the full-length books they just take more time.
Yeah.
So basically, with like Spooky Tales, it's a collection of short stories, and if they tie in together, that's neat and fun, but it's not necessary. And so you've got a short story, and here's my idea. I can send it to Japan, and Chad reads it and says, "This is great. It's not written well, but I'll work on that for you." But with like,
see what you're trying to do here.
Yeah. Or this isn't working at all. Please delete this and don't show it to anybody.
Oh.
But with Storyweaver, we ran into one thing. To actually circle back to the train station is a great conversation, because we get to the end of the book and we never really finished the book until we finished everything before the finishing of the book. And a large part of that is,
what does that mean?
Yeah, here's how I think it should end, and here's what I think should happen. It's like, well, if that's going to happen, then chapter 8 doesn't make any sense at all, And so, and while you're working on that, I turned 3 upside down and deleted 2. What do you think? And so it's a lot more work to try to chase each other's edits and keep it coherent. I think you asked this earlier in the interview. I'll bring that back up. You asked about, does one person focus on a character, another person focus on a chapter? It depends on which stage of that you're talking about, because sometimes Chad's like, I'm working on this one chapter, and and Jason's working on the voice of the park ranger. My favorite's the park ranger. He's my favorite character.
I love the park ranger.
And Chad just really did not like the park ranger, and he basically wrote the voice for the park ranger. I'm like, you messed up. You messed up writing him this way because now I'm in love. I want to do it this way.
Oh.
But I don't think
I think I was.
Go ahead.
Well, sometimes it's because maybe I'm insecure. Like, oh, I don't know if this is any good. And you're like, oh no, this is staying. We're keeping this guy.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And Alex's testimony was another thing. He's like, this is just an idea to help us figure out. Yeah, this is just an idea to help us figure out what it should be. And I'm like, no, this is exactly what it should be. You've already written it correctly. Where this is staying. And he gives me that, oh no, don't tell me that. But I don't think there's a sentence in the book that doesn't have both of our fingerprints on it.
That's for sure.
I love that. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Get lost in the story. Get lost in the adventure.
Yeah. And I guess I should mention that one of our real goals, Jason mentioned comic books. Growing up, we were both what I would call reluctant readers.
Reluctant readers is a great hashtag, by the way.
Yeah.
I see them every day at school.
That's why the chapters are so almost vignettes. Each chapter kind of almost can stand alone, because we wanted something that you could read aloud at bedtime and you could pick up later and wouldn't feel lost, so that it wouldn't be so intimidating to pick up and start reading. And that's why there's a lot of pictures too, just to kind of hook your interest and keep you turning the pages.
He's talking to me right there. He's wanting to hook my interest and keep me turning the pages. But no, he's exactly right. No matter whether you want to start at the beginning and understand what's going on from the start to the end, or just crack the book open to the middle and pick a random chapter, it's entertaining. It's fun. There's an adventure to get lost in, and there's fun characters to me. Tell you what, I have a lot of pride in all the characters that we've come up with together in this book, and I'm actually sad about some that were lost.
Well, you should be proud.
But there's so many that made it.
I read a lot of children's books, a lot, and this one really did entertain me, so well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Well, this has been such a pleasure for us, Chad and Jason. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your creative process with us. It's been fascinating. We hope you get some sleep, Chad.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you for putting this together.
This has been...
it means a lot.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. I've been looking forward to it. We had a wonderful book launch. Chad actually came over to the States for a week, and we got together and got to share some pre-sale copies of the paperback and got to sign some copies for some people and have that moment in time. There's no telling when that'll happen again. But
right.
I've been looking for that excitement again, and this is I've been telling everybody, like, we actually have somebody who wants us to be on a podcast. They're going to ask us questions about the book. Yeah.
It's very exciting.
We've been very excited as well, so we are happy we could make it work.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get back together when you release your next book.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.
So we are joined today by Adelaide. We asked her to read this book along with us. We're super excited to hear her thoughts. But first, did you bring us a joke?
I brought 2 jokes.
Ooh, all right.
This is my favorite one. How was Rome split in 2?
Oh, I don't know.
With a pair of Caesars.
Oh. That's good. That's good. Okay, give us the other one.
How do billboards talk?
I don't know.
Sign language.
Very good.
Okay, I have one for you. There was a train in this book. That's why I picked this one. How does a train hear another train coming?
I don't know.
With its engineers.
All right, guys, you got us laughing. So let's talk about this book. What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was probably when the train came and Daniel saw his grandpa. And I have multiple. And
well, that's good.
Another one is at the beginning where Alex kept seeing her grandpa, and she just always thought he was there.
Okay, so when Grandpa was with the train, that part actually kind of got me as well because my dad's gone and he was an engineer. And so when he came on the train, I was like, oh.
It's so great when you can connect with it like that, right?
So good. That was great. So what about your scariest part?
The scariest part was probably when Daniel, Brent, and Alex were being attacked by the robots, the kidnapper robots with Gus and Hubert, and then Brent got taken away.
Yes. There were parts of this book that kind of reminded me of maybe The Wild Robot, when they had the battle scenes, kind of that. Have you ever read Artemis Fowl?
Not really.
This book kind of gave me that Artemis Fowl feel too, a little bit, but good one. So did you laugh a lot during the book?
Yes.
What was the part that made you laugh the most?
Probably when the giant said, "I can't hurt anyone," and I thought it was really funny because he's a giant and he just can't hurt anyone.
So would you recommend this book to your friends?
Yes, I would definitely.
Good.
I'm so glad you liked it. I really enjoyed it. So before we end, I want to hear, what else have you been reading?
I just finished a series. It doesn't have a name over the whole series, but it has names of the book. And I just finished the third and last book. It was called So Totally Emily Ebers, and it was just really funny. And she just writes letters to her dad, but she doesn't send them. It kind of relates to me a lot.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, sounds good.
Very good. How old are you, Adelaide?
11.
11. And so are you going into middle school?
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh, exciting. Huh? Yes. Is it exciting?
I don't.
You don't know yet.
When you get there, you'll like it.
Just enjoy summer first, right? We don't want to rush that along.
I can't thank you enough for reading this book along with us. Any final thoughts?
No.
Okay.
If you rated it, what would you like to?
Out of 5 or out of 10?
Let's do 5.
Probably a 4 out of 5.
Well, that's pretty good.
That is a good rating.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So final thoughts on this adventure, Lainey?
Yes, Storyweaver Adventure Mode Unlocked is a fantastical tale that takes you on quite an unexpected adventure. Warning, the story weaving is kooky and whimsical. Laisha, I loved it.
So a big thanks to our Andy Keats writing team for sharing their creative journey.
And also to our junior reviewer, Adelaide, for her fantastic input.
Until next time, I'm Laisha.
And I'm Lainey. And keep those bookmarks bouncing.